You injured your back in a car accident, and naturally you're wanting to know, what can I expect, both treatment and with my claim against the at-fault party? Well, we're going to tackle this in this video today, and what we're going to go through is a couple of things. We're going to talk about what's the major injury that we're concerned about anytime back is the complaint after a car wreck. So we're going to go through some of the medical side of it so you know, if you're early on, what the fear factor is and therefore why all this treatment is happening to you and what to expect. And then we're going to talk about what treatment course typically looks like in a back injury after a car wreck. That again will help you by knowing what the doctor is ultimately concerned about, because they oftentimes won't tell you as you're treating unless it becomes an actual diagnosis. You know why they're having you do what they do, because there's some things that do confuse people throughout treatment, and you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot by not doing something because you're not understanding why this is part of the process. And then finally, stick around to the end, because I'm going to talk about how all of this affects the value of your case in a back injury after a car accident. Before we dive in, let me introduce myself. I'm Ted Spalding. I'm an Atlanta personal injury trial attorney trying cases like this in Georgia and throughout the country for over 20 years now. And I've started this channel in this video and others to impart some of my knowledge that I've gained over 20 plus years in the industry to you guys. So for two reasons. One, so you can become a better personal injury client if you end up needing to hire an attorney for your case. And number two, if you don't need to hire an attorney, how you can handle this case and get some information on your own in the best way possible. An informed claimant, so someone who's injured, is a good claimant. So hopefully this video helps in that process for you. So let's dive in. So as I said, topic number one in answering this question for you is, what are we fearful of ultimately injury-wise when we hear back injury? Well, we're concerned about a spinal injury. What typically is that? Discs. All right. The discs, if you don't know, are the jelly material in between the vertebrae in your spine. And they act as basically shock absorbers throughout your life. Okay. Us walking around as human beings, our spine is going like this constantly. And so those discs are shock absorbers, so the bones don't hit each other. That's what causes pain. It can pinch a nerve and that sort of thing. So discs are real important, but they're soft and they can get injured in whiplash type wrecks of all natures. And so the moment we're hearing back injury, we're concerned, man, I hope he doesn't have it or she a disc injury. Why? Because disc injuries, and there's different levels of disc injuries, they oftentimes might be surgical because they're involving the nerves that are running through and out of your spine into the various areas of your body from the back. That's where your pain comes from. Sciatica, a lot of people know about. That's a nerve because a nerve's being pinched by a disc oftentimes. And there's other various injuries that can come, some from the bone, some from other areas of the disc and those sorts of things. But the big one's the herniation. That's what we're worried about. Herniated disc, okay? That's the big injury. Oftentimes is surgical. It's going to cause a lot of pain. It is a permanent injury. I don't care who tells you otherwise. I've been doing this forever. No chiropractor is going to fix it. An orthopedist isn't going to fix it. Physical therapy isn't going to fix it. They can help other areas and make the pain less. But once that disc is herniated, it is not going to unherniate itself. I have yet to see that. You're going to have to deal with it. And you either live with the pain or you get it surgically fixed. And there's a number of different surgeries, but that's the big injury we're concerned about. So how does that then translate to what your treatment course is likely going to be so you know what to expect when you have the back injury. Well, the doctor is ultimately doing two things with their treatment. One, treating, okay, so trying to treat the pain. And two, diagnostic, right? The treatment helps the doctor figure out, do they potentially have a disc nerve issue? Okay, so what's typically going to happen? Well, your best route is you go to a doctor first. They're going to do x-rays, make sure nothing's broken, because obviously you know, things like you could actually fracture a vertebrae. Okay, really, really hard to do in a wreck. It would have to be a massive hit, but it can happen. So they'll first make sure either ER does it or a doctor you go to does it. Let's make sure we don't have anything broken. Okay, it will also show some of the structural components, but an MRI is the only scan, other than the CT that can pick it up as well, that will look at the discs, not just the bone. X-ray is straight bone. You're not going to know if you have a herniated disc or a bulging disc or anything with a disc from an x-ray. Okay, so first it's x-ray, then what may happen, depending on your complaint level and who you are seeing, physical therapy. Now, why? Because what we're trying to understand, meaning the doctor and then, of course, an attorney if you're involved with one, is this just muscle-related stuff? So the whiplash, if it's a rear-end collision or, you know, side impact, spun your spine around, is it just all the muscles that are supporting the spine that have been damaged and it's just muscle-related injury? That would be great news for you because physical therapy can cure that, okay? Rest and physical therapy can heal the muscles, and you're probably looking at a couple of weeks of treatment. Worst muscle cases, maybe a month or more, and that pain eventually goes away. Or are we dealing with a bigger injury? Nerves involved, discs involved. Physical therapy, again, one is going to help with the symptoms, but it's also diagnostic, because typically what will happen is you'll do a first 4-week round of physical therapy and then go back to your doctor. How's physical therapy helping you? And based off of your answers, that doctor is going to decide, is it so bad we're just going to jump right away to an MRI because it's sounding like it's probably a disc, or still potential it's muscle, and we're going to do another round of physical therapy. Okay? That's the next step. If you get put to an MRI right after that physical therapy, there you go. Doctor is now thinking, I'm really worried that we got something bigger going on. So let's say you are that patient. MRI. It shows something. What's the next step? Typically it's shots. Now, every once in a while, if it's real bad, the doctor's immediately going to get you to a surgical recommendation with a surgeon. If it is not, oftentimes it's shots first. Why? Doctors won't tell you, but shots are diagnostic. Shots will not fix a herniated, a bulging disc, anything like that. But they need to, oftentimes because of insurance approvals and things of that nature, they got to put you through 3 rounds of shots. Okay? This is the typical protocol, and people get real frustrated by it because it seems like a waste, and quite frankly, between me and you, it probably is. Because by the second shot, guess what? The doctors, if you were to have a beer with them one day, they'd say, oh yeah, you're going to need surgery. They can't tell you that otherwise for some reason. So you're going to have to go through shot 1. It will relieve pain, but the doctor's trying to find out for how long. If it only relieves it for a couple of days, you're in real bad shape. You may only have to do 1 more shot, and then the doctor's going to call it and say, nope, let's go surgery. If you're having several weeks or months of pain-free existence after the first shot, you'll do another shot. Same thing after the second shot, then you'll do the third shot. Most go through 3 shots first before the doctor's going to then say, let's get you to a surgeon to see if you're a surgical candidate. Frustrating, I know, but be ready for it, because you don't want to say after the first shot, I'm done. This is ridiculous. I'm not doing anything else, because guess what? The doctors will say, well, I can't get you to a surgeon. So see you later. PRN, nothing more we can do with you. If you want to do the second shot down the road, let me know. That's what happens. So don't shoot yourself in the foot, both treatment-wise and your case, by stopping in the middle of the rounds of shots. You're likely going to need to get through 3 of them, and just be prepared, okay? Now, what does this mean for the value of your case? Well, as you can imagine, if you are lucky and it's just muscle related, that is a lower value case in a back injury after a car accident. It's not going to have a tremendous amount of value. Oftentimes, that's something you can probably handle on your own. If you end up having several rounds of PT, and then it's going back to the doctor, now MRIs, et cetera, there's a greater chance you've got a disc injury, and those are much bigger cases. Obviously, the biggest of these back injury cases are when you need what's called a fusion surgery. That's where they're putting in a cage, as they call it. They're removing the damaged disc, because again, it's not going to fix itself. Putting in an artificial one oftentimes, and then a cage that's screwed into upper and lower vertebrae to basically keep that section of your vertebrae from naturally moving, because you've lost that jelly cushion, right? So it's locking it in place. You're going to lose mobility. It oftentimes then means down the road, years later, you're going to have another fusion surgery above or below. I have a lot of doctors that testify as to that. We're talking permanent placement of hardware, future surgeries. You're going to lose a percentage of mobility in your back. Not a massive deal, but still valuable and a big deal. You're talking a very big case at that point. So you can go from anything from very small case, muscle related, all the way up to this fusion type scenario. The other big one, by the way, other than fusion, is when the nerves are big time involved in the herniation, they can get permanently damaged. And sometimes the doctors recommend not only a fusion surgery, or even skip the fusion surgery and do a stimulator. And it's a little device they put in your hip, and they put electrodes up to the area of the nerve that's causing the pain to kill the pain. And you're basically a robot for the rest of your life. You have a remote control that you can up or lower the shock waves that go to deaden the pain. Huge thing. Big case if you unfortunately have to have a neurostimulator put in. But that's the worst case scenario. That's how these things affect the value of your case, how much treatment you need, surgeries, non-surgery affects value up or down. I hope this video has helped you get a handle on this question when it comes to back injuries and car wrecks. Thank you so much, as always, for watching this video. Check out my other videos as well on a whole slew of topics that might help you as you're trying to understand what's going to happen and how to handle a car wreck claim. Thanks so much.